days we were invited, I know I certainly was, and was always happy to take up invitations, to visit schools, to speak to politics, societies, etc. And very often at such an event, I would say to the pupils, name me 3 things that denote a democracy in the Western world. And invariably you would get an answer about universal suffrage, of course, but you also almost invariably would get an answer about the existence of an opposition. And of course, that is a right answer, because no self-respecting democracy, no self-respecting legislature can hope to operate successfully or credibly without an opposition. And yet, for all but 6 or 8 months of the 22 years of the existence of this Assembly, we've had the farce of no opposition. And of course, that fits entirely with the ethos of this House, which flows from the absurdity of mandatory coalition. Because within mandatory coalition, there is no thought, respect or regard to even the possibility of opposition. Because one of the functions of an opposition is not just to challenge, to scrutinise, to oppose. One of the functions of an opposition is to present an alternative at future elections. And of course, the pernicious absurdity of mandatory coalition is that that alternative can never be presented. Because so long as you have a system which says any party which retains a handful of MLAs will automatically and as of right be in government, then you cannot afford an alternative at an election. And therefore, the function, the practical, forward-looking function of an opposition is fundamentally undermined. And so it sits uneasily with the structures of this House to even contemplate an opposition. And of course, its tardiness about doing so is illustrated by the fact that New Decade, New Approach said the very report that we're today going to commission should have been with this House in July. Such is the indifference of this House to the very concept of opposition. So belated as it is, hamstrung by the fact that it will not be an opposition in its full form, and doubtless there will be many in this House who will want to tie it even further, because there are parties in this House that fear opposition. There are parties in this House who were scared, uneasy, that on the return of Stormont, the SDLP, for example, might have had the courage to be opposition. The Ulster Unionists might have had the courage to be opposition, because they like the cosy cabal whereby they're all in government with no one holding them to account. I don't know if we'll ever end up with the proper functions of an opposition in this House. I have severe doubts about it, given the mindset of this House. But certainly, as a member of the AERC committee, I look forward to the investigation of this matter and look forward to attempting to ensure that after all these years, that this House finally would have the opposition of the opportunity of an opposition with teeth, not some timid ticking of a box, but an opposition with teeth. And of course, the wherewithal has to be supplied, as well as the political will, which might be the biggest hurdle.
I now call on John Blair to conclude and wind up the debate on the motion.
Deputy Speaker, thank you, and I thank members for their contributions. As my commission